Michael Knight is a fictional character and the protagonist of the 1980s television series Knight Rider, played by David Hasselhoff. The character first appeared in the opening scenes as Michael Long, played by Larry Anderson, Indiana. The beginning of the pilot. Michael Long, born Michael Arthur Long on January 9, 1949 outside of Los Angeles, California, raised by a blue-collar working family. In the late 1960s, while in his 20s, Long joined the Army, was part of the Green Berets, and spent 3 years in counterintelligence work in Vietnam. Captured once when snooping around, he fought his way out of a POW camp, incurring an injury which required brain surgery, and a metal plate that was inserted into his skull. After those years in Vietnam as an intelligence officer, Michael was discharged from the service, and arrived back in Los Angeles in the 1970s. Presumably 1972. Later he joined the Los Angeles Police Department, starting as a patrolman, where he met his partner Muncie. Also, once Michael's partner was Sergeant Jim Courtney, whom Michael called his second father during his LAPD rookie days, whose daughter Stacy got injured during an illegal street race during Season 3, episode Knights of the Fast Lane. Michael was subsequently promoted to detective sergeant, and finally to detective lieutenant with the LAPD's 11th precinct, in which his badge number was 4262. He used to reside at 1834 Sherborne Avenue, Wilmington, California, in the zip code 90744. This was presumably in 1982. Michael Knight, after 10 years on the force, during the night of August 8, 1982, while on special assignment from the LAPD as an undercover security guard for Consolidated Chemical Corporation in Las Vegas, Nevada for 6 months. His longtime partner, Muncie, working undercover as a maintenance man, was killed by security guard Gray. In the pilot episode, police officer Michael Arthur Long was betrayed by a female informant and nearly killed by a gunshot wound to the head by an industrial espionage expert named Tanya Walker. A metal plate in Long's skull, the result of the head injury, mentioned above, sustained during the Vietnam War 10 years earlier, deflected the round, which still inflicted serious facial damage. That same night Long was declared dead to the public and his medical care was taken over by the Foundation for Law and Government. This part of the story is shown in the pilot, titled Night of the Phoenix in syndication. The symbolism in this title is related to Michael's car, a Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, the likes of which usually featured a giant decal on their hood depicting the Firebird. The Phoenix traditionally is symbolic of rebirth, and the scene of Long collapsing on the hood foreshadows later events. Flag is a private crime-fighting arm of Knight Industries, an organization founded by Wilton Knight, a billionaire philanthropist. In the context of the pilot, Wilton Knight is dying of an undisclosed illness. Wilton picked up Michael passed out in front of his car, on a desert highway. Michael barely survived, thanks to the metal plate. Given a new face via facial reconstructive surgery, Long is resurrected as Michael Knight, together with a high-tech automobile called the Knight Industries 2000. Michael Knight agrees to carry on Wilton Knight's crusade of aiding the powerless. He usually was given mission objectives by the new director of Flag, Wilton Knight's longtime friend and confidant, Devon Miles. Michael was selected for his high level of self-defense training, intelligence, law enforcement experience, and his ability and preference to work alone without assistance or backup. Michael Knight was a special type of hero, a modern knight who avoided violence whenever possible and generally refrained from using firearms, although in several episodes he is seen with a .38 revolver and once with a MAC-10 when arresting some corrupt U.S. Army troops. Although most of Knight's cases were based in Southern California, where Flag was headquartered, the operation was not confined there. He could travel to whatever part of the country trouble arose in, sometimes even crossing borders into Mexico. Flag also had facilities in Las Vegas and Chicago. The organization also owned a semi-trailer truck that served as a mobile office and also offered technical support for KITT. In early literature for the series, the aforementioned metal plate in Michael Long's forehead was also said to be used for Knight to pick up various radio waves and signals. This was played upon in the several Knight Rider tie-in novels published, but was very seldom used in the actual series itself. One of the only questionable examples of it being utilized is in the first season episode, Trust Isn't Rust, when Michael suddenly tells KITT to switch to the police frequency. Although it is arguable that he could have just noticed local commotion, or been acting on a hunch. In the second season episode, Sole Survivor, KITT's CPU is separated from the car and deposited in a trash can in a garage. Michael finds it after telling Devon he senses KITT's essence. In addition to playing Michael Knight, Hasselhoff also played a double role in the Season 2 feature-length episodes Goliath and Goliath Returns, portraying not only Michael Knight but also Wilton's biological son, Garth Knight. At the time of Michael's surgery, Garth was imprisoned in Africa. Believing that his son would never be seen again, Wilton had Michael's face modeled after Garth's. In the pilot episode, both Devon Miles and Wilton stated that Michael actually resembled the face of Wilton himself as a young man. The novels written after the series aired described Michael's reconstructed face is based on images of both a young Wilton and Wilton's son. In any event, the Garth storyline would not go beyond the second season, primarily due to Hasselhoff's request that the doppelganger villain be ended. Due to the time it took to be made up and filmed both the roles of Michael and Garth. In 1984, Michael found out that the reason for his having almost been murdered 2 years before was his having been the target of a hit put out on Long by Tanya Walker's lover, and Wilton Knight's long-standing enemy, Cameron Zachary, which was the reason Michael was shot. Michael is always a ladies' man, often loved women, and that included his former fiancée Stephanie Stevie March Mason, who eventually he marries on the same day she is killed. Michael's favorite foods are often steak, eggs, greasy fried potatoes and burgers. He retired from Flag in 1990. TKR would take over his duties. Knight Rider 2000. In a 1991 sequel movie Knight Rider 2000, Devon visits Michael and convinces him to join Flag's project, the Knight 4000, as the test driver. But Michael is furious to discover that KITT has been disassembled. Michael is ready to walk away, but later decides to rebuild KITT's AI unit. At the end of the movie, Michael returns to retirement. Knight Rider. In the 2008 Knight Rider revival television movie, Michael Knight shows up at the funeral for his son's mother. He introduces himself to his estranged son, Michael Tracer, who asks if he will see Michael again. Michael replies, "I hope so." Michael Knight was again mentioned by his son in the first episode of the new series. Tracer said that his father's real name was Michael Long, and his co-workers made fun of it. Later, Tracer decides to adopt the Knight family name in an attempt to start a new life, just like his father.